Starting late, our executive ran a little later than expected. We're calling to this meeting to order. I note that some of our participants are on a video conference. Today's public meetings are also being live streamed from the Port Authority website. We will now hold a public committee meeting, starting with the Committee on Finance, which will be chaired
remote. In addition, also present are Chairman O'Toole, Commissioners Bollwage, Eve, Fisher, Helmy, and Rosado, with Commissioner Fisher and Rosado remote. With respect to the year-end 2023 financial results, there is no action and therefore no recusal required.
Thank you very much. I now have the pleasure to probably do the only thing of significance I will do all week, which is to call on our Chief Financial Officer, Libby McCarthy, to present the 2023 financial performance results. Libby?
Thank you, Commissioner. And good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm happy to present today our year-end financial results. Oh, they're over there. Okay, so I'm going to start with my normal caveats. These audited condensed financial information should be read in conjunction with the financial statements and their related notes and management and discussion and analysis, which will be available today on our website. In addition, I just want to point out that as I'm going through the information that I'm presenting today, it is being presented to you on the basis of the Port Authority's bond resolution, which is the basis on which we set our budget and report to you on our budget. This basis of reporting is included within the 2023 audited financial statements, and there is a reconciliation from this basis of accounting to the generally accepted accounting principle basis of accounting. So, starting out, overall, we had very strong performance in 2023. As you can see here, circled in yellow, the net operating revenues of the Port Authority before consideration of retirement and retiree health benefits costs were almost $300 million, or 10% higher than the amounts we achieved in 2022. I isolate that actuarial pension and other retiree health benefit costs because it's a very volatile cost, which under generally accepted accounting principles, we're required to recognize over a very short period of time changes in the market value of the underlying investment portfolio or changes in actuarial assumptions that may change the overall liability of the Port Authority. It doesn't necessarily change our annual contributions to the retiree benefits, but it changes this book accounting. So you can see here that retiree retirement and retiree health benefit costs increased almost 100% from 2022 levels, or $300 million. So once we factor that into the results, net operating revenues in 2023 were essentially flat to 2022. Two other things, I'm going to give a little more detail on both the operating revenues and expenses, but before I leave this page, two other things I would point out is 2023 benefited from a catch-up in our ability to apply the passenger facility charges that we collect at our airports to expenditures on our airports. You can see 2022 is a low number, and we were able to catch up as we worked through eligibility with the FAA on certain of our expenditures. And then the final thing is that our investment portfolio had a change in its market value due to changes in interest rate, which is a swing of $265 million as compared to last year, and that's also reflected in our results. So at the net revenues available for debt service line, our results were up by $600 million, which is a positive. So as we normally do, I'll just talk a little bit about our activity levels at our facility, which drives a fair amount of our revenues, and then we'll talk about our revenues overall. So this chart, just to orient you, has tunnels, bridges, and terminals on the left and aviation on the right. These are, of course, our two largest revenue producers. The gray bar is 2019, just as a point of reference as we still look at how we've been recovering from COVID-19. Blue, 2022, and the green, 2023. TB&T, you can see our activity volume was up 2% versus 2022 and was ahead of the 2019 levels. That was driven partially by some milder weather we had in the first part of 23, but also as a result of just the economic conditions in the region. Aviation, which had a strong, was working its way back from sort of its very low in COVID, had a very strong recovery and further recovery in 23, 12% increase, and it actually reached and surpassed the 2019 levels. So it's setting new records again as we look at our aviation activity. This is what we're seeing is that there was very strong demand growth in the domestic side, and that is still offsetting the slightly lower than 2019 levels of the international activity. So we are sitting right now at 103% of the pre-COVID levels at our airports. Moving on to PATH and our ports. The PATH system, which is on the left, here you can see it had very strong growth in 23 versus 2022, 19%, but we're still well below the 2019 levels, sitting at about 61% of 2019 levels. We're expecting that PATH system to recover at a slower pace. This is really driven by the return to the workplace environment and potentially the hybrid work model that's being adopted by many employers in the area. On the port side, we had versus 2022, we are down from the record levels that we were setting in 2022 due to macroeconomic effects with respect to supply chain and the still strong goods-driven economy. But we are up versus 2019 levels, 3% over the 2019 levels, and the ports are continuing to be very strong in that they are still the largest ports on the East Coast and the number 2 ports in the country. So that while there's that downtick, it's still very strong recovery, and it's driven by the macroeconomic environment that we're currently in. So now moving on to gross operating revenues. Here you can see that gross operating revenues for the year are up about 10%, $600 million from the 2022 levels. And we've got it broken down for you by the types of the various components. So biggest drivers here are on the rentals and aviation fee perspective. So on the rental side, up $200 million. That's driven by the full year impacts of some of the terminal developments that have gone into effect, as well as the new Terminal A at Newark. On the aviation fee, and then just regular standard escalations, plus some activity, the higher activity levels at JFK Terminal 4. On the aviation fee perspective, that's comprised of both cost recovery plus the activity-driven access fees and the AirTrain fees. That's up another healthy $200 million. And then the remainder is really driven by the tolls and fares, somewhat the activity I just described, and then as well on the toll side, we had a toll increase that was effective at the beginning of last year. Moving to operating expenses, here mentioned to you the impact on the retirement and retiree health expense. So the expense was up $600 million, or 18% from 2022, but over half of that is driven by that retirement benefit costs. If I strip that out of the employee compensation numbers here, the increase in employee compensation was 2.9%, or just really driven by wage increases and workforce and work balance. On the contract side, we are up, and that's driven by some of the increased maintenance at our facilities for some of our assets, critical assets, and then as well just the higher activity level requiring us to ramp up our spending in response. Moving on to our cash flow and liquidity. Again, very strong position here. Cash flow from operations increased by 4% versus 2022, and we have a very strong liquidity position. Cash and investments at the end of the year were $5.4 billion. Our days cash on hand was 280 days, and our revolving credit facility had another $230 million available to help us fund our capital plan. And finally, on the debt side, our debt position actually decreased at the end of the year as compared to the beginning of the year. That's a result of our retirements and refundings exceeding our new debt issuance. Partially, that was dealing with the consolidated note, the short-term note that we took out in the post-COVID environment to work our way through that, which we retired and refunded, partially using some cash on hand as well as some issuance of that on a longer-term basis. And so those are our financial results, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Be for a usually concise and excellent presentation, and have a good week. Turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we have gone over that many times with your leadership, Commissioner Cohen, week in, week out, month in, month out. So that's a great summary of what's gone on for the last series of months. The next meeting is the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management. Today's meeting on the Committee of Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is being held in public. I ask the Secretary to advise of the composition and any recusals.
Thank you. The Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is composed of Vice Chairman Linford, the Committee Chair, Chairman O'Toole, the Committee Vice Chair, and Commissioners Helmy, LaBarbera, and Rosado. All committee members are present with the exception of Vice Chairman Linford. Commissioners LaBarbera and Rosado are remote. In addition to the committee members, Commissioners Bollwage, Cohen, Eve, Fisher, Kelly, McCabe, and Richardson are also present. Commissioner Fisher is participating remotely. There are no recusals required.
Great, thank you. Now call upon the Director of Aviation Redevelopment, Jackie McCarthy, to present an item that would authorize a project to provide a new at-grade access to Newark Liberty International Airport. Jackie, welcome. And before you start, Jackie, where's Sia? Tell Sia, be patient, Mom and Dad. We're going to get to you after two more items on the agenda. How's that sound? You're good? Mom, she'll be patient? All right. Jackie, it's on you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'm going to be presenting a really exciting project. Its primary goal is to provide fast and efficient access to transit facilities by extending the existing Northeast Corridor pedestrian bridge across the tracks to a new at-grade facility that can be directly accessed by the South Ward and North Elizabeth neighborhoods. I'll start with historical background and project context. In 2001, the Port Authority opened the AirTrain Newark NEC Rail Station Complex. The facility at that time was constructed exclusively for airport users connecting via New Jersey Transit and Amtrak. We are asking to open the station for public access to AirTrain Newark in addition to the NEC rail station to create economic value to the airport. This project would provide much-needed access and transit benefits to the Newark and Elizabeth communities. In March of 2023, the board authorized $12 million for planning to develop the project for local public access. This slide illustrates the access improvements and transit options that are created by the proposed project. The NEC AirTrain station allows passengers today to travel to Newark Penn Station and New York Penn. You can see the proximity of the existing NEC station to the Dayton neighborhood. The red line type represents the northeast corridor. The blue line type, the existing AirTrain. The gray is Route 27, Frelinghuysen Avenue, and the yellow area is the proposed at-grade public access. Here we're zooming in to give a bit more detail on the proposed public access relative to the existing conditions of the station. You can see the existing AirTrain rail link station and tracks, the NEC station, the Conrail tracks, and the Amtrak New Jersey Transit platform. You'll note that there is no existing access from the neighborhood today. We're also showing where the proposed pedestrian access bridge would extend westward into the adjacent property. The project scope. This is the westward extension of the NEC station's above-grade pedestrian bridge, which you can see in the preliminary conceptual layout to the right. The facility will provide access and egress with elevators and escalators to grade. The station will be ADA accessible with ticket vending machines and real-time information displayed for train and bus schedules. It includes pedestrian and bicycle access to and from Frelinghuysen Avenue, as well as pickup drop-off lanes for buses and taxis for hire vehicles and a cell phone lot for private vehicles. The extension is approximated at 16,350 square feet with the enclosed pedestrian bridge. The project benefits for the new multimodal access include provide an additional public access point for users of Newark Liberty International Airport, provide a larger footprint for location of airport-related businesses and spur transit-oriented airport development around the NEC station, adding economic value to the airport, the breakdown of existing barriers for the neighboring communities to jobs and transit services, and provide important benefits to the Newark and Elizabeth communities and its key constituencies for current and future development. This includes the creation of a one-seat ride to Midtown Manhattan for South Ward and Elizabeth residents via New Jersey Transit or Amtrak, a connection to PATH at Newark Penn Station for direct service to Jersey City and downtown Manhattan, connecting service to Hoboken and Midtown Manhattan, improved speed access via AirTrain to Newark. Currently, it takes approximately 40 minutes from Dayton via transit today. This would improve via the NEC rail link to Terminal B to 9 minutes, and improve speed access from Dayton to Newark Penn Station, which today takes approximately 40 minutes via bus and will be reduced down to approximately 7 minutes. Since March of 2023, part of our planning effort has included significant external engagement, which we will continue moving forward in all future phases of the project. We've held town halls in Newark South Ward in October of 2023. We've had governmental outreach with the state of New Jersey, the city of Newark, the city of Elizabeth, legislative districts and congressional delegation, and technical stakeholder and coordination meetings with New Jersey Transit, Amtrak, and NJDOT, FAA, and PSE&G. Going forward, we'll continue extensive and regular civic and community engagement throughout the final design and construction phases of the project, via direct outreach to civic organizations, additional town hall meetings in local area prior to the start of construction, and periodic status updates as needed and requested throughout the project construction. Based upon our project advancement, we're looking at a total project amount of $160 million. That's inclusive of $122 million for construction, $14 million for planning, engineering, and support services, and $24 million in agency allocation and soft costs. As we complete our design, we're looking at an anticipated contract award in 2025 and a targeted construction completion in 2026. This project is anticipated to provide 1,380 total job years, both directly and indirectly, $125.1 million in wages generated, and $291.1 million in economic activity over the life of the project. So today we're requesting that the board authorize a project to provide at-grade public access to the Newark Liberty International Airport Rail Station at a total estimated cost of $160 million, and authorize the executive director to enter into agreements for coordination of construction with third parties, such as Amtrak and New Jersey Transit, the award of contracts for professional technical services to support project implementation, and the award of construction contracts to build the project. Absent any questions, we recommend to advance this vote for approval. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Jackie. Let me just turn to Commissioner Bulwich for a minute. This is something that I think, while we see on paper the costs, we see on paper the benefits, economic development, but to see the transportation lines go from 40 minutes to 7 minutes, both in Newark and Elizabeth. Commissioner Bulwich, just talk about, in terms of the quality of life, what it really means to those folks in Elizabeth and in Newark.
So this access, when this was built 40 years ago, a lot of the residents would have liked to seen access at that time, and has explained to us that was not possible based on certain rules and regulations. But the people in Elizabeth, in the city that I represent now, will be able to access not only the Amtrak and the Northeast Corridor at another location, they'll also be able to access the AirTrain. I talked to a few people and they're like, wow, if I could just drop somebody off at a parking lot and they get on an AirTrain and then get to the terminals, it's much quicker rather than navigating some of the traffic during peak hours at the airport. So this is a great plus.
Huge.
And I look forward to the commissioners voting in favor of this.
Great, thanks. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Eve.
Yes, I just, obviously, Commissioner Bulwich, very close to the situation, and I think you know, Mr. Chairman, even though I'm a native of Buffalo, go Bills, proudly, and New York City is my home, I had the honor and privilege of working in Newark, not too far from the South Ward, for almost a decade. We haven't been able to talk about this project publicly, but we have all, and I know I've been extraordinarily excited about the project since the very just stellar work that's been done by the team and with the community to move this forward. As you have alluded to in the past, and as Commissioner Bulwich said, this is righting a wrong. This is righting a wrong of the past. And in addition to all the economic benefits, you know, we can't really fully quantify how game-changing, to Commissioner Bulwich's point, this is going to be for people who call Elizabeth home and people who call Newark, particularly the South Ward, home. And I'm just so very proud. It may not be the biggest project that the port has done. Certainly it's not. But I think in terms of righting a wrong of the past, and the game-changing benefits that will be to residents who so deserve this. I just, you know, this is a really proud day, in my view, for the port and our work, and particularly in support of those communities and the economic benefits, obviously, that'll inure to not just residents of those communities, but residents throughout the region. So not a New Jersey resident, but a proud former Newark, New Jersey worker, and just really proud of the team that has done such great work to bring us to this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Eve. Well, we consider you a New Jersey, just so you know, given your 12 years of service. To your point, while this may not be the biggest at $160 million, you asked the people in Newark and Elizabeth, to them, this is absolutely monumentally game-changing. It's as big as it gets for them to give them access to schools and work and economic opportunity and public transportation. And they're going to save an hour and a half each way. Think about that in their quality of life. So, anybody else before we ask for a motion from a committee member? Jackie, thank you very much for that presentation. May I have a motion from the committee member not recused? Need a motion? Second? Need a second, please? Second. Okay.
Second.
Any objections? Then thank you, Winston. No objections? Motion's passed, and we're moving ahead to the public board. Thank you. Derek, welcome aboard before we go into our public. I know Sia's getting a little anxious over there. We're going to get to you. Chief Development Officer Derek Utter to present to you 2023 capital performance results. Derek.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here today to provide a review of the 2023 full year of capital plan results. Just in summary, spending was $2.1 billion, which was flat from 2022, and about 73% of what we had budgeted at the beginning of the year. We hit 81% of our scheduled milestones, which is a little bit lower than our target of trying to hit at least 90% goal each year, and I would just editorialize, we are pretty tough graders on ourselves on the scheduled milestones, which I'll mention in a second. If you look back at the last several years on our spending, we typically do spend a little bit less than our budget each year. We like to spend as close as possible, like 90% plus of our budget, to ensure that the engine of our capital projects are just moving ahead. This year, underspending was largely driven by the timing of a few payments. We had made some milestone payments in 2022, and one drifted in 2024, so 2023 was just unusually starved for a couple milestone payments. We also had some retainage on some big projects that we didn't release yet, but the projects have been moving forward just as planned. And then in some of our pre-construction projects, we decided for procurement reasons to repackage them or take a different approach. For example, the Newark AirTrain, and we decided to take a different approach that then delayed some of the spending there. So none of these were really symptomatic of problems, but just to explain what happened last year. In terms of on-time results, as I said, we were a little bit lower than we'd like to be. In fact, you'll see back to 2019, other than COVID, we've had typically been a little bit above 90% in hitting our scheduled milestones. This year, we hit 88 of our 103 milestones, which put us at about 81%. None of our major programs or major construction programs like Newark Terminal A or JFK redevelopment have really been affected by this. This tends to look at a lot of small projects when we do these grading. And so most of these were relatively small projects, and they fell into two categories. They're the construction milestones, and they're the pre-construction milestone. Pre-construction means we grade ourselves on how quickly we get to award of a contract, and the construction milestones are how quickly we get to completing the construction of the project. Of the 20 milestones we missed, about 10 were for construction projects, the other 10 were pre-construction. When we went back and analyzed the 20 misses very carefully, what we found is there are a couple of areas for improvement. This is where we're really going to focus this coming year, and this is really the benefit of tracking this so closely, is that we found that in our internal process prior to awarding contracts, we need to streamline some of the steps in that process so that we don't take inordinately long in pre-construction. And then our Path and World Trade Center departments both underperformed the average pretty significantly, and so there's a real concerted effort to look closely at some of the misses there. Projects that we put into beneficial use, meaning we completed construction. Newark Terminal A was a big opening in January of 2023. I think we're all very proud of that. The LaGuardia Central Hall Atrium Business and Conference Center also opened this year. There are a lot of small projects on this list, just to point out one of them. The Path energy efficient lighting and HVAC upgrades shows that we're doing a lot in the sustainability area still. And one not on this list that we supported was the World Trade Center Performing Arts Center, which opened up in the fall of this last year. In terms of contract awards, which allow us to get into construction, a couple of major ones. The JFK Roadways, Utilities and Ground Transportation Center, we awarded a contract for $1.24 billion to Skanska Halmar, and that project is very much in the throes of construction today. If you get out to the airport, you'll see the roads being torn up. The Newark AirTrain, I mentioned that we had split that procurement into multiple contracts. We have awarded what we call the System Technology Contract. That's essentially the cars that will ride on the new track. We also awarded a contract at JFK called the Westbound Connector, another roads project, and you'll see that they tend to drop off in size after that. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Derek. Any comments or questions from our commissioners? Derek, thanks for the update. And that concludes our meeting on the Committee of Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management. We are now rolling into the public portion. Good afternoon. The board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units is now being called to order. Today's in-person meeting is also being held virtually via teleconference with the proceedings live, streamed from the Port Authority website. On March 6th, the Audit Committee and Committees on Finance met in executive. Earlier today, the Committees on Finance and the Committees on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management met in public. Their reports will be filed with the official minutes of today's board meeting. The Commissioners also met in executive earlier today to discuss matters related to the security or public safety, matters related to the purchase, sale, or lease of real property where disclosure would affect the value thereof, or the public interest, matters related to personnel or personnel procedures, and to discuss and act upon matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts for proposals. Let us start the meeting by, on a somber note. We lost two members of our Port Authority family who passed away recently. We lost Yusamamel Un, an administrator in the aviation department working at Newark Liberty International, who had 20 years of experience and service with the Port Authority. We also lost Sandra Lake Sims, a security guard in the Security Operations Department with 7 years of Port Authority service. I now ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence and respect their families and remember our colleagues. And so we go from a little somber to a little bit of a celebration. We're going to honor Janet Cox, who's here today, who left us, I don't know, how long ago? I'm sure you counted the days, Janet.
I left January 26th.
No. So Janet's been with the Port Authority for 40 years, and to all the Sias of the world, my kids of the world, the next generation, if you want to aspire to be somebody great, you aspire to be Janet. I've seen you, Janet, for the last 7 years, and I know Rick's going to go into some of your record and some of your value and things that you've done over the 40 years. And we could talk about whether you're 5 years as a director of management, whether general manager of the ferry, your workforce, your business and workforce development. Your probably the most important was chief of staff to that Rick Cotton fella. I think most importantly, she served under 10 chairs from Alan Sagner to present, and she's going to rank them when she gets up here and say which was the best to the worst, which would be cool. Served under 12 executive directors, from Peter Goldmark to Rick, and served as obviously Rick's chief. And John, I can just tell you there's like a handful of folks that have really been the glue that have held this place together since I've been here. And you represent literally one of the pillars that have made this place stand up, stand tall, and proud in the best of times and in the worst of times. You have been an inspiration to us. You are remarkable and intelligent and wonderful in so many ways. And before we let Rick go into his thing, and we have a couple of cool gifts, and we're going to do a resolution to give you a very special award, a medal, which has been only awarded 106 times in the last 25 years. But I want to put like 4 of your colleagues on the spot. Carol, you're going to start and get up here. I asked Carol and Lily and Clarell to come up, and Jim Heitman just to come up to the microphone. And in a minute, just embarrass her and tell us what she means to you and what she has meant to this agency. You could do it far better, Carol, than we have done. So I'm asking you, Carol. We talked about this, didn't we? So Carol, Jim, Clarell, I'm asking you to come up. Lillian, this is not a ask. This is really a command. Come on down. Carol.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for putting me on the spot. I must have missed your call. But let me tell you something, and what you said is absolutely true. To the young ones, if you really want to aspire to be somebody who is great, somebody who is intentional, somebody who supports you, Janet is that person. Janet and I started here about 40 years ago, and I met Janet, and Janet was a glue that kept us together during the challenging times. She was somebody who listened, and when she listened and you told her something, she will give you that look, and you're like, no, that's not the way I should go. You know, that look. But I just love her. She has been a pillar in this agency, and she is part of the success of everything that we have achieved. So I am just so proud to stand here to congratulate you, Janet.
Thank you very much. Lil, come on down, Lily.
Oh, Janet, so special. So Janet and I started growing up in the Port Authority in a time long, long ago. And one might say that together we tried to break the glass ceiling, but it was so long ago that it wasn't glass. And, to talk about the strides that have been made in the decades that ensued, Janet always set the example of being a role model, being inclusive, and always pulling others with her and with us to make a difference, not only in the Port Authority, but in the communities we serve. With respect to the stare that you would get with Janet when she was budget director and chief of staff to Rick Cotton, some of us have coined her as having the velvet hammer which is she always got it done with grace and did the right things right. So honored to be here and wish you life's blessings.
Thank you. Jim Heitman, come on down.
Now, Commissioner McKay, she's been compared to James Baker.
That's pretty good company. Jim?
So Janet and I'm a year or two behind Janet in terms of my tenure here, and we followed very different paths, me in engineering, and you heard Janet's arc in her career. But what I remember most is when I was out at Newark Airport and I had to submit budgets, she was in MBD and kept me in line and gave me great guidance going forward. But what I really appreciate most is being in this job so new last year and having the help and assistance from Janet in keeping me out of trouble with Rick and so many other people. That was really just so thoughtful in terms of I didn't have to reach out. She reached out to me, gave me a lot of guidance, and I've heard that same thing from so many people, especially from my predecessor, Huntley, when I took the job, knowing that Janet was going to be an ally to me as she was to him. So really want to congratulate you, thank you, and wish you well.
Great, thanks, Jim. Florell, come on down. And Rick, I didn't know that Jim was out of the doghouse. He clearly exonerated himself. Florell.
I didn't get the memo either, Chairman. But, you know, I've known Janet, my goodness, it's got to be about 20 years, Janet. We go way back when she headed up, she was the program director for the ferries. And we coordinated in meetings. But I think in two instances, I really remember Janet in terms of really being an inspiration and a collaborator and an assistant in my life in my role here at Port Authority. The first one, of course, is her role as Chief of Staff. And when we'd have meetings with Rick, and Rick would lean into the camera and ask questions, or sometimes not ask questions, she would call up and say, Clarell, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to get. So she would translate. She had a way. She spoke Rickese and translating exactly the way we needed to prepare our presentation in order to communicate and explain exactly, you know, so that Rick would understand and give us the nod. So that was extremely helpful as I started out in my role as director of PATH. The second one I think really sticks out at me is during COVID. During COVID, Janet and I think also Huntley took a lead role in the agency when, after the case with the gentleman that had died, I'm forgetting his name
George
right
Floyd.
now.
George
Thank
Floyd.
you. And the agency, the whole world reverberated around that incident that happened. And thank you to Rick and the chairman that pivoted, because I think we were the only public agency that responded to that and understood that in addition to COVID, in addition to the stresses and the emotional torment that people were going through COVID, now we had this additional racial issue that was circling, and everybody kept quiet about it. But again, thank you for your leadership, Rick. Thank you for your leadership, Chairman, that gave us a voice. And as ODEI took the lead in that in sending out surveys, Janet's voice and Huntley as well, very loud leaders of really helping to understand the framework of what that needed to look in the agency. And thank you, Janet, for that. I remember that so much because I think it gave employees a voice and an opportunity. And I think it took us through, helped us to journey through a point in time that was very challenging. And I applaud you for that very much, Janet. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you. So now, Rick, the secret's out. I guess you have a translator. I didn't know that. So I guess Peter Simon's my translator. So I guess behind they have these secret conversations that just prop us up. Good stuff. By the way, I kind of like the impromptu conversations with our staff. We may employ this in the future. Like Libby won't even look at me right now, just so you know. But the reason I didn't ask before, because when we went to your retirement, everyone got up there and they were so authentic and they were so real, and I just knew what was reflected and said then was going to come out today here. And it's really a reflection of you. And I think the way we can end this is go to our leader, Rick, who saw the talent and tried to get you to stay a little longer here, which I think you kind of did. But I'd like to hear from our executive director who saw Janet every single day and just talk about what she meant to us and to you, Rick.
Well, she turned out to be a great translator. It's impossible to characterize what the importance of the role that Janet played in terms of our working relationship. Obviously, I got to know Janet. Janet actually got mad at me very early in our exchanges, but that's a story for another time. I came to know her when she was the head of MDB, and so what you saw in action there was her intellect, her way with people, since she was Dr. No to a lot of people, but she did it with grace and with a reason. And it has to do with her quality and interest in policy, in doing the right thing, and in trying to, in some sense, do what you have to do in a big organization, which is to mediate, to counsel, to really stand your ground if people are just off the right path. But on the other hand, wind up where everyone feels respected, and you wind up at an end which everyone understands and at some level comes to accept. But Janet's role really goes beyond that, and certainly in the role she played for me as chief of staff. Her commitment to want to see things, see the right outcome, and that went across the board. It went in terms of policy, but it also went in terms of how the agency was running. It went very extraordinarily to wanting to see capabilities recognized. She wanted to see people succeed. She identified the up-and-coming talent in the agency, and she almost made it a personal point to try to advance people's careers in ways that they would find satisfying, but which also would inure to the benefit of the agency. She was a real mentor. Came naturally to her, and she's a people person at the same time that she's a tough hombre. And I would include that in terms of how she related to me. Because she would tell me when I was off base. And it was helpful, but it's really, it's a special person. It's sort of truth to power. It's sort of, it's really standing up for what you believe and saying to whoever it is, no, you need to think more. You need to think what's really best for the agency and what's important in terms of advancing policy goals. And when Janet speaks, one listens. If you're both if you certainly if you know her, but in terms of the substance of what she has to say. So for me, it was a very special experience to have her as chief of staff. It was she's a wonderful colleague. She was a wonderful colleague even before she was chief of staff because she's committed to getting to the right answer. But as as chief of staff, she was in a position to point me in the right direction when I needed it, sort of bring people into the conversation who might have been left out. And it wouldn't be right to finish a discussion about Janet without referring to our priority in terms of diversity and inclusion. And she was deeply committed to that. In some ways, she represented it. But it was, one of the things that I think about in terms of working with someone is in terms of the back and forth. The ideal back and forth is that each conversation takes you to a higher level so that it keeps going up. You may have different points of view, but as you talk about, and particularly with repetitive interactions, everyone is moving up the curve. And Janet was just a wonderful colleague. She's become a wonderful friend. Janet, I salute you.
Thank you very much. Before we hear from the honoree, we need a motion to adopt the resolution to award the Wagner Distinguished Medal of Honor to Janet D. Cox.
So moved.
We hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Votes are in order. Item has been approved. Janet, the microphone's you, and after you have a few your comments, I'd like to get up here and we're going to present. Rick has a presentation with a flag, and the entire board wants to present a plaque to you, and as well as the actual medal. So, Janet Cox.
I'm going to keep my comments brief. I've had the privilege, the pleasure to serve at the Port Authority, or have served at the Port Authority for 39 and a half years. I tell people I've had an incredible career at the agency. I started as a management trainee leadership fellow. I was in international business development. As people know, I was in Office of Business and Job Opportunity, managed the ferry program. Manage the budget, and thank you, Libby, because I certainly couldn't have done it without, Libby being there in order to show me what to do, and the cooperation of the agency, and just saying when I said, no, I'm so sorry, they had to agree. But the privilege has been to end my career being chief of staff, because you see the agency from a totally different vantage point. And I really want to thank the board, thank the chairman, but most of all, thank Rick, because he gave me an opportunity to just do something different, to really spread my wings in the way that my wings were meant to spread, to look at things from a very high and strategic standpoint and to make a difference. And so in my 39 and a half years, I can look back and say that, I can see the boats running on the harbor, I can look at a ferry terminal, but I can also say that I've made a difference at the organization. But one doesn't make a difference without the support of one's peers, colleagues, because I could always, throughout my career, I could always turn around and look at someone and ask a question. Or someone was there to help me on, keep me encouraged, because one doesn't stay someplace 39 and a half years without the support of their colleagues. And so in leaving, it was a very difficult decision for me. But I can tell you the thrill that I have being at home, turning on the news and seeing all the activity in the Port Authority. I see Tap and Go. I see LaGuardia being the best airport. I hear about the development of the bus terminal. And I can look at all those things and say what a great place the Port Authority is and how proud I am of the Port Authority and that I had the opportunity to have a wonderful career here. So it is I who thank you for the privilege and the honor. Thank you.
So if I can ask all the commissioners to stand with us. Janet, come on up. Rick, come on up. We'll do two presentations. First with the Medal of Honor. Come on over here, Janet. You take one. And Michelle, why don't you take one? Everyone just kind of fall in. And this is the actual medal. We're going to present the Medal of Honor, Robert Wagner. You're the 107th person since 1991. Congratulations. And Michelle's, are you a presentation with the plaque, Michelle? You know, just summarize or just whatever you think.
Throughout her career at the Port Authority, Janet applied the full measure of her talent and intellect in a series of leadership roles, including at the World Trade Center, manager of the agency's ferry program. It goes on and on, all the accolades. Janet was crucial in assisting the agency in navigating recent unprecedented challenges. I want to call that out. Upon the occasion of her retirement, it is with our utmost appreciation and respect that we honor and thank Janet Cox for her public service and essential contributions to the Port Authority and the region it serves. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Eve?
And yes, that deserves an applause. And this is a picture of the Freedom Tower, and I'll just read to you briefly what this says. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, the accompanying World Trade Center flag, you'll be presented with the flag, was flown over the World Trade Center site and presented to Janet D. Cox in recognition of her nearly 40 years of dedicated service to the Port Authority and to the bi-state region. And that is marked today, March 21st, 2024.
I'll read the inscription. Janet D. Cox, in appreciation for 39.
And a half.
Got the half.
And the half. He wanted the other half.
For 39 years of outstanding service to the Port Authority, congratulations on your retirement, January 28, 2024.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You all stand up and take one picture with all your
I gotta stand.
wonderful accolades.
Everyone, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. And
Carol, can you?
No, mercy. All right. We'll have to meet at Lincoln Center. Yes, yes.
I'll see you later.
Goodness. They want me to go.
No. The opposite. All righty, transitioning into the Executive Director's report and then we're going to see a special video on Newark Terminal A, and then we're going to hear from our special guest right after that video. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am going to start by thanking the employees of the Port Authority, as I always do, and also thank, again, recognizing that 2/3 of our employees are represented employees, thanking the leadership of the unions of which they are members. But it's particularly important to thank the employees as I start this report, because I'm going to focus on three really, from my point of view, quite momentous events that have taken place in the last actually 10 days. And it is the result of the actions and the work and the dedication of the employees of the Port Authority. And I want to start by taking note that our airports have really scaled new heights in the recognition that Terminal A at Newark and the whole new LaGuardia are receiving and have received in the last 10 days. Let me start with Newark Terminal A, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you're going to show a video shortly, but we were privileged to officially announce on Tuesday of this week that Skytrax, the leading airport rating agency in the aviation industry, has awarded Newark Terminal A a 5-star rating. Now, this is no ordinary event. Easy to say, 5-star rating. But think of winning an Oscar. Think of a 3-star Michelin rating. A 5-star Skytrax rating is simply stratospheric. The 5-star recognition puts Terminal A at Newark Liberty quite literally at the forefront of North American airports. That's not an exaggeration. From an agency point of view, there's even more to the story. Only 3 airports in North America have facilities that have received 5-star ratings. LaGuardia Terminal B received a 5-star rating a year ago. But it's really important to think that with the award of a 5-star rating to Newark Terminal A, 2 of the 3 airports in all of North America with a 5-star facility rating are Port Authority airports. To say that that has never happened before, this would be a wild understatement. It is completely unprecedented. It is extraordinary recognition for the agency's airport redevelopment program. It is extraordinary recognition of the efforts of not only our Port Authority airport employees, but also for the multitude of employees of other employers who together, not only the physical new terminal, but also in terms of the way passengers are served as they pass through that terminal. That is what has earned both Terminal A at Newark Liberty and Terminal B at LaGuardia the recognition that they received from Airports Council International, which is the leading rater of Skytrax of airports in the world. Now, the second event of the last 10 days related to our airports also did something that no one, and I don't think there needs to be any qualification, that no one ever thought, certainly 5 or 6 years ago, would ever happen. Last week, the Port Authority announced that Airports Council International, which conducts the industry-leading passenger survey of passengers to rate their experience, awarded LaGuardia with the 2023 Airport Service Quality Award for the best airport in North America in its class, based on an actual survey of more than 4,000 airport passengers. LaGuardia Airport, #1 in a passenger survey. If you were talking about this 10 years ago, you would have said ridiculous. Since major aspects of the airport began opening, LaGuardia had received multiple awards and accolades from professional organizations, beginning with the 2021 UNESCO Prix Versailles. But last week's recognition is a significant and important departure in that it is a direct reflection of passengers' opinions. This survey result is the first time, certainly in decades, that LaGuardia has received a positive ranking in a passenger survey. And again, it is a testament to the efforts of Port Authority workers, our partners, and their colleagues across the airport. The third item that you're going to hear about in a few moments from our Chief Development Officer is the fact that on Tuesday, March 12th, the Port Authority with Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams announced a new agreement to support the $10 billion replacement of the 73-year-old Midtown bus terminal. I want to thank the mayor and the many members of his administration for working so hard and constructively with the Port Authority to reach this agreement. I also want to thank the elected officials whose districts include the bus terminal for working with us to work with the city to reach this agreement. Our design for the new bus terminal includes both upgrades and capacity expansion to serve bus commuters, but it also incorporates many benefits for the community, including getting buses off community streets and building better public spaces, public-facing shops, and wider sidewalks, benefits across the board, And I want to give credit where credit is due. These were changes to the plan we published in 2019, and they were advocated by the city, by elected officials, and by community boards. The close of this deal with the support of the mayor, the community boards, the elected officials, is a critical forward step in funding the $10 billion bus terminal project. We appreciate the support that this agreement with the city provides, and we again thank the mayor for this very important step. I will close simply with a quick note to how our facility operating volumes fared in February of this year. Our airports continued at a record-setting pace, resulting from continued high demand for air travel. Our airports served 10 million passengers, more than any other February in the history of the agency. Additionally, both LaGuardia and Newark set passenger records for the month. At our seaport in January, the port handled 7% more cargo than in the pre-pandemic January 2019. This also represents a more than 5% increase over December 2023. The port maintains its status as number 2 in the country with respect to loaded cargo. At the bridges and tunnels, the Port Authority's 4 bridges and 2 tunnels continue to show strong volumes in February, with levels at or exceeding pre-pandemic levels, and PATH in February 24 continued at about 2/3 of 2019 levels. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We have a videotape, Ben?
Newark Liberty International Airport's new Terminal A has been awarded the prestigious 5-star rating from preeminent global airport evaluation firm Skytrax. This outstanding evaluation builds on Terminal A's growing list of accolades, including UNESCO Prix Versailles Special Prize, LEED Gold certification from the U.S. Green Building Council, and the Project of the Year Award from the American Society of Civil Engineers New Jersey chapter. The coveted rating confirms Terminal A meets or exceeds global standards in its frontline service and customer experience. Completed in 2023, Terminal A now joins LaGuardia Airport's Terminal B as the only 2 airport terminals in North America and 2 of only 4 in the world awarded the highest rating by Skytrax. The facility features world-class passenger amenities, local artwork, children's play space, state-of-the-art digital technology, and dozens of local dining and retail options. Other unique passenger amenities include a sensory room that offers neurodivergent travelers and their families a calm space away from the bustle of the airport, and a children's lending library curated by a local 5th grader. The $2.7 billion project represented both the Port Authority's largest ever single investment in New Jersey and the state's largest design-build project. The terminal served 15 million passengers in its first year, greatly outperforming yearly passenger totals from the previous Terminal A. The next phase of the Port Authority's ongoing transformation of Newark Liberty International Airport will be developed through the work of a world-class airport master planner selected by the agency. The EWR Vision Plan, which will serve as a framework for future development through 2065, will incorporate plans for long-term economic growth, sustainability projects, and multimodal access to the airport for both work and travel. Visit www.anew-ewr.com for more information regarding the replacement of the new AirTrain Newark and other EWR redevelopment projects.
LaGuardia and now Newark, 2 of the 4 in North America, is just unthinkable, unimaginable, and now it's done. It's striking. The bar has now been set for Port Authority asset. We only go for the 5-star, state-of-the-art. Whether it's here, JFK is next, correct?
No pressure.
No pressure. But that's what we have come to expect from our people, laid with the foundation of Janet and others over the years. This is where we are going. It is amazing. We can't say enough, and We talk about it and we say, okay, one and done. No, this is something that really is a benchmark for the Port Authority for the last 103 years. That's what the people of New York and New Jersey and this region have come to expect. They've never received it, and now they're getting it, and that's all they want. And when people talk about going to Newark and they're having dinner there, they go to LaGuardia and have dinner, but when they land, that's part of the experience. That's amazing in so many ways. And part of that, and Sia, I want you to kind of stand up, Sia. Sia's idea was to put that library in Terminal A. She was in an Alaskan airport, and they had this library for loaning books out for people who were there. And she said, why can't we have this in New Jersey? True, Sia? So why don't you come up and go to the microphone. If your mom and dad want to join you, that's great too. Talk about what your motivation was to bring that library as we were putting this Newark Terminal A together.
Well, so I was on a trip to Alaska in 2021, and I remember seeing a library there, and I'm like, why don't we have this in our airport? Because I think New Jersey's busier than Alaska. And then I remember like a month later when I got back from that trip, I was sitting eating a bowl of cereal, and then
Cheerios.
Yeah, Cheerios. And then I'm like, wait, we still need this in our airport. So I went ahead, I contacted a lot of people from the Port Authority. One person responded. That's kind of how we took the whole idea. We kind of started like talking. Her name was Christina. She was really nice to us. She helped get all the approval. She thought it was a great idea, so she's like, okay, let's make this happen. So she started talking to everyone else, and in the meantime, I was like collecting books, like because if this actually happens, because I was like, is this gonna happen? Or I don't know if they're like, I don't know. So I was collecting books in the meantime, and then they were getting like all the approvals and stuff. And then we were also talking to Home Depot. So when they were like, okay, this is gonna happen, we talked to Home Depot, my local Home Depot in East Hanover, New Jersey. We were talking to them, and then they were like, oh my goodness, this is such a good idea. We can donate. We can make it for you. We made the blueprints for them. They made it for us. They kind of showed us like where to put the letters, kind of paint it. And then they donated it to us, which was so nice of them. And then the soft launch, it happened a month ago. The actual media event was, I think, also like a few weeks ago, I think. I don't remember. But yeah, and I was so happy. Like, this has been such an amazing journey. I think the Port Authority was so nice. Like, yeah, this was so good.
Are you missing school today?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you missing school today?
Yeah, I am.
I feel awful now. So let's get a letter to Home Depot as well, first of all, and to the school. But you've collected, I think, 300, 400 books yourself, is that?
Wow. Around 4,000 books, actually.
4,000?
There are some private donors, some people from schools. They're like, they all want to connect, and so far we have more than 4,000 books.
Wow. Is Christina here from the port?
I don't think Christina.
Do you have a list of the people who did not respond to you from the port? I'd like to know that. Dad, you want to say anything?
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of this board. We have been truly honored by, what SIA has done for the last, couple of years, and obviously without the support of Port Authority, this wouldn't have been possible, and we wouldn't have been standing here. Since this event, SIA, through her website, www.letsreadtoday.com, has collected over 4,000 books, talking to, from private donors to local libraries, from public schools. It's been an overwhelming response. A common theme has been, how stressful traveling is, especially traveling with small children. And to add, the delays at the airport, it just adds to the stress. And with SIA's love of reading, we just hope that we can provide a book for every child in America. And this is truly a dream come true for her and for our family. And we couldn't have done this without the support of Port Authority. The work doesn't stop here. We are hoping that this library would be able to expand to other airport terminals, B and C, and who knows, LaGuardia and JFK in the future. So looking forward to your support, and let's all see you. Thank you.
You want to add something, Sia?
Yeah, so I want to say that my dad is right about everything.
Say that again. He's right about what? Everything?
Yeah, he's right about everything.
Dads don't hear that a lot, I tell you. My 24 is pretty, I think I heard that once in 24 years, yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to thank the whole Port Authority, the board, Mr. Chairman. This has been an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful for everyone who's helped me with this. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, thank you. I had, in the Star Ledger did a profile on you. Senator Ruiz, the majority leader in the Senate, came up to Rick and I and was talking about you. I spoke to your Senator John McKean this morning, very, very proud. You have gotten the attention of everybody, and you have, as Commissioner Eve said, just amazing poise and presence, and you've taught us all something. So you don't walk out here empty-handed. There's a couple of things we have for you. So if you don't mind, and the commissioners want to get up with Rick, we have some things to give away. So see you, come on over. If we can all grab this.
Okay. Oh, wow.
This. Now, the best thing, you get an autographed book from me and Rick Cotton. Present that to Sia. Let me just, hold on, I want all the commissioners to have something to give away, a certain thing. Let's see if we have enough here, there. Pass that along. Who's got who else? All right. George, you want a hat or a yo-yo? As a matter of fact, here, hold that as well.
Oh, nice.
All right. So let's all face the camera. We got a bunch of cool gifts. And then I want mom and dad in this as well after this.
How do we get a yo-yo?
Ask Janet. Doctor, no. Good? Mom and Dad, why don't you join us? Let her stand with her. Mom and Dad? Great. We're good? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What do you got here?
I see you a future executive director of the Port Authority.
Yeah. That's a cool one. What do you have, George?
See, we have a bag and a hat. This is all stuff we never got when we got on.
Commissioner Bowles, what do you have?
If you don't want to keep this, I will. I heard you got books from my library.
That's Commissioner Richards, what do you have?
Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
When you're making those speeches, have your water bottle.
A humble notebook and a little pencil.
Oh, Commissioner Kelly.
2 T-shirts.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
So you're
You got an armful, huh?
Yeah.
See you, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. For our next order of business, we're going to call our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, to present an item for the board's consideration that would authorize a memorandum of understanding with the City of New York covering payment in lieu of taxes related to the future commercial tower developments in Midtown, including 2 developments contemplated as part of the Midtown Bus Terminal Replacement Program. We will defer voting until after we hear from the speakers. Derek?
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Back to business. I'll be quick, though. So as Executive Director Cotton mentioned, this conversation has a little bit of history going back a couple of years ago. The bus terminal, major project the Port Authority is preparing to launch. Back in 2019, we put out a plan to build in place. In 2021, based on input from New York City, commuters, local community boards, and the like, other elected officials, we expanded the project quite dramatically to add capacity for curbside intercity buses, the mega buses, the Bolt buses that pick up passengers on the street, but also to allow for a much larger facility for staging and storage of buses, which otherwise would park on city streets. In addition, we added 3.5 acres of publicly accessible open space on Port Authority property, which was a big request from the community. And we added new street-facing concessions and retail. So the new bus terminal will not turn its back on the community. In fact, it'll be open to the community. There'll be attractive facades, and we really want to make this an asset for the community, not the eyesore it is today. But that came at a cost. And so we entered into some negotiations with New York City to help defray that cost. And we asked at the time that they contribute pilots, which I'll explain in a moment, from the commercial office towers, which could be built near the bus terminal as a source of financing to help the bus terminal get built, the larger one. And what we're going to propose today is that we accept a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, that covers the use of these pilots that concludes this 3-year negotiation. So pilots, it's an acronym thrown around quite a bit. It means payment in lieu of taxes. Payment in lieu of taxes, a simple way to think about it, is essentially the property taxes that would get generated from this commercial building that would otherwise be paid to the city would instead be paid to the Port Authority. And it would allow us to collect those taxes and use that as a financing source for 40 years. It also includes the mortgage recording tax and sales tax. Those are much smaller components. So for 40 years, we would collect these taxes once these towers are constructed. After that, the pilots or the taxes would be revert to New York City. This tool was used to help fund Moynihan Trains Hall, which is a very successful example of an infrastructure project in New York City. And as I said, these pilots, however, are contingent upon demand for office buildings. And we do believe that Class A office space over time will continue to be in demand in New York City. So we have many years to build these. These will not be built day one. They'll be built over time. We are capped at 6 million square feet, but 6 million square feet is quite a bit of space. The current plan includes 2 towers above the main new bus terminal on 8th Avenue and a separate project that has independent utility south of the bus terminal on Port Authority and private property. So today's request is that we allow the executive director to enter into this memorandum of understanding with the city, which provides for the Port Authority to collect and retain these pilots for the 3 office towers for 40 years, and then to use these as a source of funding, a support of funding for the build-out of the bus terminal. And we will effectuate these pilot agreements with more specific agreements over time. We'll have the ability to do that. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Rick?
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to repeat what I said in my report, which is that this is an example of really excellent cooperation between the Port Authority and the city. Want to publicly thank the mayor for his support, his administration's support of reaching this agreement. Thank the public officials, the elected officials who represent this, the district in which the Port Authority is located. It has been just a remarkable cooperative effort to bring us to today.
Rick, but for this, we wouldn't be moving ahead. I mean, if we didn't have this pilot, it's obviously a critical piece to the bus terminal. This has been over 3 years of very arduous, sometimes arduous negotiations by you, Derek, staff. Extraordinary result. And we want to thank the local elected leaders, community boards, all in New York here that have been part of this. Their unanimous support of this and working with you and working with our team really brought this to the top. I think but for that teamwork, I don't think we'd be having this conversation today. So congratulations to you, Rick, and to Derek and the hardworking Port Authority staff. This is 3 years plus in the making, and it's going to allow us to go forward with the state-of-the-art $10 billion bus terminal. Great work. Anybody want to speak before we go to our public session? Derek, thank you very much.
Thanks.
At this time, before we vote on the items today at the public, we're going to hear from our members of the public to comment on Port Authority matters. The public comment period, which may be limited to 30 minutes, allows for the members of the public to present their views directly to the board, not necessarily a dialogue. In Those people who have specific questions should reach out to our Port Authority staff, who will be here afterwards, and we can contact our Public Affairs Department, and we can have a one-on-one discussion on very specific concerns. Is Christopher here, or did he leave at 1:15?
No, he had to leave. He had
Left.
another engagement.
Okay. Sorry about that, Christopher. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden. Hey, Murray.
Well, today was the reason that everybody should be going back to the office. The number of interactions there, all over, could not have happened over Zoom. There were dozens. I've been here for over 2 hours just watching. How many people talked to how many other people, person to person, gave them a hug, made appointments. And that's the most important thing that happened here today. The reason that people should be going back to the office, because problems get solved face to face. You get to see your person, never happened on Zoom. So I had prepared remarks about this, that, and the other thing, none of which is as important as getting back to the office. You're facilitating it. You're building transportation, things that will make it easier to get there. But it has to be well known that coming back to the office, meeting face to face, solves problems that never will be solved anywhere else. The leadership that you and Rick have provided created an atmosphere of cooperation. It's amazing. And I want to all people, not just you and not here, but anybody watching, to understand how important it is that personal relationships are the way to get a job done. Thank you for creating that atmosphere. You had a lot to do with it.
Thank you, Murray.
You go around and you meet people and you engage. I've told you that years ago. You do it more so and better. And it's a pleasure to have worked with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. Much appreciated. Is Kevin Brown here? No? Okay. Juanita Dingles? Juanita? And after Juanita, we're here from Carla. Is Carla Thomas here? Yes, I'm here. Great. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Dingle. I work at the GWB Bridge. I am currently, excuse me, let me start all over.
That's okay.
A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. Come on.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Dingle. I'm a security agent at the GWB Bridge. I worked at the port site for 14 years, and for the past 8 years, I work at the GWB. I'm currently employed by Wisdom Security. It's about 30 of us who's employed by Wisdom Security. About a few months ago, me and my coworker found out that Port Authority is ending the contract with Wisdom Security and bringing security in-house, bringing security work in-house. As of March 31st, me and my coworkers, we will be laid off. Only a few of us was given the opportunity to work with the port. My coworkers and I show up to work every day with experience to make the public safe. It takes a new security agent about a year to learn the in and out of the bridge. And we don't understand why the port want to throw all of that experience away. We are calling on the port to give the Wisdom Security agents a job, to give us the chance to prove ourselves for all the years that we have done already. Wisdom Security is a small security agent that only have a few jobs to offer us for those who are laid off. And with that being said, we don't know if our benefits going to be cut, our wages going to be cut, We don't know how far the job is going to be for our home. I'm a person who frequently goes to the doctor. I take medication, and if I lose my health care, I don't know how I will be able to afford my medication. And my coworkers is in the same situation as myself. They also have children and family who rely on the health insurance from the GWB Bridge. My coworker and I have served the Port Authority for many years. It's not right for the port to make us lose our job and our benefits. And it's not because we've done anything. This is the port responsibility, and it's time for the port to take responsibility. Please do something about this now before we all get laid off on May 31st. And with that being said, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Juanita. And let me just say, and we don't normally engage, we hear what you're saying. We've had conversations. We've directed our HR folks to see what they can do to make sure they can try to take care of those folks who have taken care of us. You're part of our Port Authority family, so we'll have a future discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Juanita, thanks for coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Carla, Thomas?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Carla Thomas, and I just wanted to start off to say I'm very proud of what I witnessed today. Ms. Janet, congratulations on your retirement. I think that was a very important thing to do and for public to see how the work that's being done at Port Authority. But with that being said, Ms. Dingles had addressed her concerns with her job, and that's why I'm here as well. I represent the workers who work at George Washington Bridge. So just to be clear, my name is Carla Thomas. I am the Director for Security for SEIU Local 32BJ in Newark, New Jersey. I stand before the Port Authority today in reference to the 34 senior officers who have been protecting the George Washington Bridge. Like Juanita said, all these officers has been protecting over the bridge for many years, leading to some folks who's been there almost 20 years at this location. I just wanted to correct Juanita's statement. She said May 31st. It's actually March 31st that they will be losing their job. That's less than 2 weeks away from today. Our job here today is just speak on behalf of these workers and hope that the Port Authority would address this matter that's facing these workers. Not only the fact that they're full-time employees who will then stand to lose their wages, are also standing to lose their benefits that most of them have pre-existing condition that they're also dealing with. We all know that this is a very important job, like Juanita mentioned earlier, that the work that they do is not just an easy job. It takes training, and it takes a long time to get to understand the work. It takes more than a year or so for folks to be really comfortable in order to make this a feasible job. These officers have, like I said, decades of collective experience. They know how to keep the public safe because they have been doing this precisely for many years. It takes new security officers, like I said, about a year or so to try to actually complete their full training. 32BJ is calling on the Port Authority to offer jobs to all of our Wisdom security guards and give them a chance to prove themselves. Wisdom Protective Services is a small company, like Juanita mentioned, and does not have the ability to absorb 34 workers into jobs at full-time and with benefits. Given the decades of services these officers have provided for the port, it would be deeply wrong for them to lose their jobs and the benefits. This is the Port Authority responsible, like Juanita's mentioned, and it's time for the Port Authority to take responsibility. And I appreciate your response, Ms. Odell, on giving her that we will meet on discussing this. I thank you guys for giving us the opportunity today to speak on behalf of the 34 workers who stand to lose their job in 2 weeks. Thank you and appreciate it.
Thank you, Carla. And I'm going to meet with Kevin Brown tomorrow at
Okay.
11 o'clock to follow up, and we are very much concerned, and if something can be done, I assure you we will do it.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Right.
Have a good day, guys.
Right. We have one video and no written comments. We have a video.
That's correct. Matty Bucky's Highland.
Can we play the video, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. For today's topic, I'm going to speak. I want to first give a big thank you to the chairman, executive director, and the director of aviation for getting the kids safely onto an airplane from my old high school to attend a cheer competition. And I would ask everybody for the April 25th board meeting to wear blue in support of autism awareness. I hope everyone I encourage everyone to do that. Thank you very much, and may God bless each and every one of you. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Chairman, Kevin O'Toole.
Thank you. And Jim, can we make sure that we have blue for, I would love to have the board members have that. It's Autism Month.
I'll send out a reminder.
Great, thank you. We'll now proceed with the voting on items. Each of the respective committee chairs will provide a brief report prior to each of the matters being considered. As Chair of the Committee on Operations, I will now present 3 items before the committee's purview. This item, as presented earlier with our Chief Development Officer, authorizes a memorandum of understanding with the City of New York covering the allocation of payments in lieu of taxes to the Port Authority for 3 future commercial office developments in Midtown Manhattan, 2 of which are proposed as part of the Midtown Bus Terminal replacement. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary if there's any recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Motion, please. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
He's a yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe is a yes as well.
Yes, he confirmed his affirmative vote on all the items.
Yep. Just want to be clear for the record. Thank you very much. Votes are in order. Item's been approved. The next item approves a collective bargaining agreement with the Communications Workers of America, which represents about 174 Port Authority civilian supervisory employees. The agreement is for a 38-month term as ratified by the union members on February 26, 2024. Prior to making a motion, do we have any recusals from the Commissioners?
There are no recusals.
Any Commissioners have a question or comment? Motion, please.
I'll move the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
LaBarbera and McCabe are yeses.
That's correct.
The next item approves a collective bargaining agreement with the Union of Automotive Technicians, which represents 104 employees, civilian crafts such as auto mechanic and other. This agreement was ratified by the union members on March 16, 2024. It's for a 12-month period. Do we have any recusals?
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Motion, please.
Move.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
And Commissioner LaBarbera and McCabe have filed their affirmative votes.
Yes, thank you very much. The votes are in order. Items approved. As Vice Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, I'll present and report on 2 items. The first item, as presented in the committee earlier today, authorized a $160 million project for the development of a now at-grade public airport access facilities and a ground transport hub at Newark Liberty International Airport Rail Link Station. The project will provide improved public access to the airport. Prior to making a motion, do we have any recusals?
There are no recusals.
Have any questions? Motion, please.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
And Commissioner LaBarbera and McCabe have filed their affirmative votes.
Great. Next item authorizes a project for the rehabilitation of runway 4L22 right at the Newark Liberty International Airport to maintain the runway in state of good repair at a total cost of approximately $134 million. Do we have any Commissioner recusals?
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Motion, please.
Move.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera and McCabe filed their affirmative votes.
Thank you. Votes in order. Item's been approved. Now turn to Commissioner Eve, Vice Chair of the Audit Committee, who will provide a report on the item before the board for consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to its authority under the bylaws and its charter, the members of the Audit Committee have reviewed and approved the Port Authority's financial statements and appended notes for the year ended December 31st, 2023. As such, the committee recommends to the board that the financial statements be included in the Port Authority's 2023 annual report and other publications as appropriate. Prior to making a motion on this item, I ask the Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals required.
Do any commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I now request a motion on this item. Motion, please. Second. I now request the Secretary to call the roll for voting on this matter.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Commissioner Bollwage?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Helmy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
And Commissioner
Sorry.
Barbara McCabe.
Commissioner LaBarbera and McCabe have also filed their affirmative vote.
And as the votes are in order, this item is approved.
Thank you very much. Before we adjourn, just want to note, we're probably going to have a very short special meeting virtual next week, Rick, Thursday-ish.
I think we're targeting Thursday.
Dealing with Red Hook for the Red Hook approval. That should be short, and you'll have notification as well, probably by Monday or so. No further business. Move to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. We'll see everyone next week, and we'll see everybody in April. Thank you.
Hopefully no one was paying attention.
Yeah. So he has a legitimate question. Okay.
Probably 5-second heads up to our friends upstairs.
All right, Tom, we're on, buddy.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Our first question will go to Skylar Woodhouse with Bloomberg. Skylar?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yes, we can. Great. Hi, thanks for doing this today. My first question is, I just was wondering, in regards to the bus terminal, are there any details you can share more about the process of the 3 towers or the 2 towers and then the 1 independent site? Just kind of who's going to be involved? Is it going to be office space, residential, mixed use? Who are you hoping to work with in terms of developing those? Just curious if there's any information you can share there.
We've announced the dimensions of the project. The project has 3 structures that it's building. It's building a brand new terminal building all the to the on 8th Avenue to the east. Then there are 2 other buildings, the storage and staging area and our built facility, and new ramps. Part of that plan is to auction off development rights for 2 office buildings that would be over the terminal itself on 8th Avenue between 42nd and 40th Street. And there is a 3rd site which is on 30th Street. So we've announced the plans. It is in the overall project is in environmental review by the FTA. And these office building developments are intended to come in the future. First of all, we need to finish the environmental review, and second, there will obviously be a process in terms of deciding when the marketplace is right. We're firm believers in the future of New York City. We believe the office building marketplace will come back, but we have multiple years to choose the time to go to market. So these plans will evolve, but that is the broad brush.
Next, Tom.
And I do have just one more follow-up question there. How much of a concern is there around, office space, and a lot of downtowns are, trying to come back post-COVID? So how big of a concern is that to you all in terms of getting this project across the finish line?
Well, as I said, we believe strongly in New York City. We believe New York City has been through ups and downs. It's actually coming back quite strongly. Traffic is impossible once again. Broadway is back, and you see increasing strength in various parts of the real estate market. If you talk to people, Grade A office buildings, the demand is there. May vary market by market, but we believe that it's coming back. And as I say, we have the time to choose the time that we go to market.
Tom?
Next question is Colleen Wilson with the Bergen Record.
Hey, thanks so much. 2 questions. One is, I just noticed on the operating expenses from Ms. McCarthy's report that one thing went down, which I think was the utilities, ever so slightly. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about why that is. And I just wonder if it had anything to do with sustainability efforts, the solar panels, maybe something like that. Just wanted more detail there. And then the second question I had is, I understood the Port Authority was measuring or analyzing the potential effects of congestion pricing. And given that could be in a home stretch, is there going to be any kind of analysis provided by the Port Authority on how congestion pricing could impact the port's revenue?
All right, well, so let's take one at a time. We have our Chief Financial Officer here, so let me have her respond to your first question.
Hi, good afternoon. So in terms of the utility costs and why they went down, it's a combination of both the milder weather in the winter of 2023, which let us have a little bit lower volume and also impacted price. And then So that's your answer with respect to that
So it's
aspect.
weather at a price.
Weather
pricing
and
issue.
price, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
great.
So with respect to congestion pricing, obviously the issue of congestion pricing is one that there are different views of. The governors of New York and New Jersey have expressed different views, and therefore we leave that subject to the governors. With respect to estimates, as I'm sure you know, the congestion pricing proposal that is out there, it's not final, has just, the public comment period has finished. The MTA needs to digest the comments and publish its final proposal. So until we actually have a final proposal to work with in terms of, we have retained an expert to advise us, but until there's a final proposal, we're not going to have be able really to analyze the projected increase or the projected effect until we really do know the final proposal.
Tom?
I'm sorry, is that Colleen's second question?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. Final question is Larry Higgs with New Jersey Advanced Media.
Thanks. My question is about Newark Airport, specifically the project to put the runway in a state of good repair. Some basic questions. When will construction start and stop or be completed? And how will air traffic be accommodated during the construction period?
You're going to hear from Jim Heitman, our Chief Operating Officer. Jim?
Yeah, so maintaining our runways, the most critical asset at the airport, is pretty routine for us. We are scheduled, I think it's next year to start, and that's all been coordinated closely with the airlines and the FAA to minimize the impact on the traveling public. Was there another part of the question?
The schedule.
I think it's scheduled to happen on weekends through next summer.
Anything else, Larry?
Oh, the start and completion dates. What are those?
So there's the main paving will be done over the summer, and it will it'll be open throughout the summer, and then there's always some follow-up work for grooving and closeout work in the following winter, and it will be ready, fully completed by the next summer season.
And Larry, we can get you any additional details following the Q&A.
Great. Thank you.
Is that it, Tom?
That concludes the Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.